We're all a little depraved and debaucherous. Here is the king of podcasts.
Tattoos. We're going to bring that up tonight again, because there's a lot of news that's been coming out, a lot of stories that have been coming out about what's being called tattoo regret. Now, it's been a while since I brought this story up. It is a reoccurring story that I do bring up on this program because it is one of those things that, you know, some of you that are depraved and debaucherous do, that you decide to go ahead and get tattoos. As I've done it a couple times. We talked about it in July last year, September last year, October. And there were a couple of things that I brought up, and it's not me trying to fearmonger, and it's not me trying to put down anyone by doing it. Let me be all clear about that. But there is something to be said about that. The amount of people going to tattoo parlors to get ink done. It's one thing just to go ahead and get ink done, but the amount that's getting done. When we're talking about men and women, now men, it's one different story. It's been a common thing. My issue is really with the women. The amount of tattoos being put on. Now, of course, people are going to get ink because it's going to be a form of expression. It's going to be something that you put on yourself as a tribute or something that's a meaning, something like that. But how many women out there, how many women honestly have a good reason or a modus operandi to go ahead and get ink to the point they want to go ahead and get their arms covered, neck, chest, all the way through? I've talked to enough women through dating apps and other various modes, just by conversations, where there have been some cases where if you go ahead and talk to someone that has tattoos on them, a woman that does, and you could tell, you know, they're relatively young, and if they've gone through any various number of traumatic experiences, I'm not saying all, but there are quite a few, that tattoos are a coping mechanism. You might not think so. And of course, there are going to be people out there that will hate me saying this, but I think it's an issue that has to be addressed. If it's a coping mechanism, if it's just something that you enjoy, fine. But how many people out there, and by the way, this is just specifically, it very much is concentrated on the United States, probably Canada, but in other countries, do you see women getting so much ink on their bodies like you see now? America sets a trend, and then it just passes along to other countries. But how often do you see so much on a woman? It used to be a perception where if a woman did have a lot of tattoos on them, you know, you're presented with someone that might be, you know, an adult entertainer, right? But now it's normalized. And I don't know what it was that the normalization to such a point is. Because my problem is that there is a thought process that I'm looking at where some women think that they're not beautiful enough. They need to add onto themselves. It's one thing if maybe when you're looking at what they choose to put on their bodies, it's their choice. I'm not trying to take anyone's choice away. I'm just trying to put the awareness out there. If you're going to get it, you know, how much thought is going into it and what is the real reason why? So putting something on your body in terms of clothing or accessories or makeup, that's not enough. No, we need something permanent that's going to stay on your body forever. And it might be something that you might not feel good about once you get older. You always hear about this with ink. You know, as you get older, that ink's not going to look as good as it did. Your skin's not going to stay the same forever. It's going to change. So the psychology of tattoo regret. A couple of stories have been brought out about this. And there are some studies that came out to talk about this. Specifically, the Pew Research Center has brought out a study to talk about this. They talked to over 8,000 adults, and they found out that 1/3 of adults in America have a tattoo. 22% have more than one. And the most common reasons the survey respondents gave for getting a tattoo, 69% honoring someone, 47% a statement about personal beliefs, 32% improving physical appearance, and a quarter of people with tattoos say they have regrets. The trend is something where it's like peer pressure. If there's something wrong with you now, see, that's what's happened. We're now at the point where, okay, there's something wrong if you don't have tattoos. It's like guys now, in general, we can have individual expression. For myself, I'm clean shaven. I do not wear beards. I don't wear a mustache. I don't grow out my hair. I could, but I don't. I choose not to. I shave every other day. I have no tattoos. So for me to go and talk about this, yeah, I know. Look at me talking about this. What are you talking about? You're full of shit. Fuck off. I got it. I get it. Now, 85% of Americans in this study say that they don't currently have a tattoo, say they're not likely to get one in the future. So if you haven't gotten a tattoo, yeah, you're not the kind of person that wants it. That sounds about right. But here is get more into the depth in the survey, you find out more. The younger crowd, they prefer it. They're encouraged. They're motivated by it. Younger people are more likely to say they'll get a tattoo. 19% of people under 30 are considering one. 7% between ages of 30 to 49. 2% of ages above 50. And then what do we think about ink? They also say that in the study, 66% of Americans without a tattoo have neutral associations with tattoos, which is where I'm at. But I think depending on what you get, there's a reason where you were born, and women are blessed, if you might think so or not, you were blessed with some form or some amount of beauty and youth. It's just there. Then maybe you only have it when you're a baby, and maybe you only have it when you're a child, and maybe it's only when you're in your teenage years and as you grow older. Okay. But to go ahead and say, all right, I'm not happy with the way I look. It's the same thing that goes on with women that want to get Brazilian butt lifts, plastic surgery. That's where I tie this in. It's the same thing. Cosmetic changes. So you might not be changing your skin, physically altering your skin to the point where you're shaping it. But this is still a physical alteration. It's elective surgery. Are there that many people that really just feel like, well, I don't like the way I look. Maybe that's why I'm going to do this. Now, they also say there that 29% have negative associations with tattoos. 5% say they have positive associations. And overall, which is only totally true here, 80% of Americans say society has become more accepting of tattoos over the past 2 decades. 80%. Yeah, it's normalized. In the past 2 decades, they say. But I could definitely see that even more so in the last decade. In the last decade, it's really changed. And I'm not sure what to think of why. But this is from Fast Company. They reported this a couple of months ago. But we now have more things coming up about tattoo regret. EarthWeb actually put out a study with data and statistics in here, and they say that there were a number of tattoo regret statistics for your consideration. Now, they didn't show me where the resource contents come from. I mean, they have it in here in the story, but it's a little bit hard to go and look for. But either which way, here's what we got. Key statistics they take here. 70% of tattoos said they regret at least one of their tattoos. 23% of people with tattoos in America say they experience tattoo regret. Of 25% of people aged 20 to 29 in Australia, 14% of them express tattoo regret. Baby boomers, 19% express regret. 12% of Gen X express regret. 40% of adults in America with 2 or more tattoos expressed regret. 37% of millennials claim to regret at least one tattoo. Now, here's the other part. For those that decide to get tattoos, if you want to get them removed, you remember the pricing that goes for that. By the way, there is a market for tattoo removal. That sector right now, globally, is $314 million as of 2022. And the tattoo removal market generates an annual revenue of $75 million. So the tattoo parlors, they're making money off of you getting it and getting it off. How about that? And then we look at here where they're looking at the stories here about tattoo regret across the U.S., Canada, Australia, United Kingdom, all English-speaking countries. 78% of people with tattoos say they regret at least one that they have. It doesn't mean that all of them have tattoo regret, but they regret at least one of their current tattoos. And let me make this clear. I am not saying that men and women need to be completely clean. No. But are you really going to go ahead and signify having 3, 4, 5 dozen, 2 dozen, 3 dozen sleeves, full coverage? I mean, there's still things where people can, if you're going to a job, or if you're going into something professional, maybe not everybody's going to be all on top of that. People you see on TV normally, if it's not a reality show, if it's not something else, you're still seeing people on television that at least they can cover up the tattoos and work and perform or entertain or whatever they're doing. Unless you're a musician, it's completely different. Or if you're an artist, completely different. But everyday people, is it a fear of missing out? Is it partly where you see other stars or other celebrities or other influencers doing it and you're saying, I want to be them? And they're watching on social media and they're replicating it. How unique can that be? How different or interesting can that be? Do you like the idea of, if you're forced to have to go ahead and cover up, are you going to be happy wearing long sleeves and long pants or jeans or whatever on a regular basis just to make yourself, so you're not, because you have to go and follow some kind of compliance? Do you want to deal with that? I don't know. That's one of those things that I read. It's all of this here. 44% of adults, 18 and up, if they have 2 or more tattoos, they express tattoo regret. See, the thing is, I'm not seeing a lot of people that talk about where they get tattoo removal. People just stick with it. They stand by their decision. And Psychology Today talks about it being a psychology. We change our minds about music, films, and visual arts frequently as 2 weeks. And so there was also a large-scale questionnaire that was put out. And I believe they were talking about Pew Research Center. Now, here's what Psychology Today talks about here. They say that we are indeed very good at even denying the possibility that our aesthetic preferences will ever change. They talk about a case called the end of history illusion, the well-established psychological phenomena that shows us how we mistakenly consider ourselves to be a finished product. We may have changed in the past. We are different from the way we were 5 years ago, but that's the end of the story. From now on, we will not change, and this bias applies to aesthetic preferences as well. We may have liked different music 5 years ago, but we are sure that we will exactly like the same kind of music in 20 years as we do now. The end of history illusion studies show that we are amazingly, consistently wrong about this, and so you will, or at least should, like your tattoo less over time. They also link the fact that tattoos are related to cognitive dissonance, the emotional reaction to a conflict between something we do and our self-image. Our mind is very good at getting rid of the icky feeling that such mental conflicts induce. We can make ourselves believe, for example, that, a number of things. And cognitive dissonance explains why we're reluctant to regret our tattoos. Even your aesthetic preferences have moved on. Confessing to yourself that you will now forever have a tattoo that you don't actually like would lead to cognitive dissonance. It's not something you could just take off. It's not like an accessory or a piece of clothing or accessory or whatever it is that you don't like. If it's like a haircut, it grows back. If, you have piercings, you could take them off, and your ears or your nose or your labrum or whatever you're using piercings, they can all be taken off and your skin grows right back. But when you put ink on your skin, it doesn't. You have to get it taken off. It's something very expensive, which people are refusing to then take the tattoo regret and get the removal. And so in the study that we're talking about here, the survey found that women are significantly more likely to regret their tattoos than men. Women. And I'm asking myself, what is it about women that feel like they need to go ahead and get tattoos in the first place? As many as they do. As I say, I'm a social experimenter. I go to the mall. I people watch. And I see the amount of women that are not so much in their teens. You obviously see in their teens. If you're going out to a club, you're going out to a bar, you're going out anywhere, I'm sure you're going to see most of the women, they have more than one tattoo on them. Okay? Pick a place. If you want, I mean, for me, I know I can go to Club Artistry. I can go to wherever. I get to see two people going out together in their 20s, 30s, whatever. And I can see the amount of tattoos they already have on their person. College especially. You can see that too, even more so. I mean, part of the thing is that getting the tattoos is affordable. Meanwhile, the removal is not so affordable. Keep that in mind. The more money is to get for the tattoo parlor, for the tattoo artist, yeah, get them to get the tattoo and then make them pay you to take it off. Win-win situation. That's what they're talking about here. And then the other part is Business Insider Africa talks about this. Artists breaking down Gen Z tattoo trends. Deeply uncool by the time Gen Alpha starts getting ink. Here's the other part. So the tattoos that you might get, it's like a style. It's like a trend. It's a fad. It goes away. It fades. Something that might be cool now or might be considered, in style goes out of style. You just can't take it off and change it. It's on you permanently. So in a story here, they say while a tattoo is designed to last, the trend may have inspired it is likely to fade faster than the ink as themes come and go out of style. Current trends like fine line designs, machineless methods, tributes to anime characters. Think about that. If you're wearing some of these things and you want to show your age, yeah, go ahead and put, the One Piece character on there or Naruto or whatever you want, an anime character. Put it up there. Go ahead and put Goku from Dragon Ball Z. Go ahead and put it on there. In like 30 years, people are going to look at that. They might just say, oh, what? And are you going to worry about that at all? So in the story, they talk about that older generations takes on tattoos probably won't resonate with Gen Z, and what's in demand right now could fall out of fashion before Gen Alpha starts booking the first parlor appointments. Insider spoke with 3 tattoo experts, doing styles that are really big with Gen Z and may have a short shelf life. Now, I'll bring up what these artists said in just a moment. Let me go to another story from New York Post. Same thing going on. Saying about Gen Z tattoo trends reveal startling truth about young women. Specific women as well. The new trend is now how old-fashioned some young women still are. A new trend sweeping TikTok right now is featuring young women getting tattoos of their maiden names as a nod to their past as they accept a new surname in marriage. TikToks are getting millions of views, being widely praised by women who are declaring en masse they love this idea. The online commentary suggests women giving up their last name isn't a choice, but a given. And we already know that marriages, what's the percentage now that we have that marriages do not last? Might not last 5 or 10 years. They're more than 50% now, more than ever. So the tattoo trend supports the outdated heteronormative expectations for straight women to give up their own names and take their partners. It seems no amount of slogan crop t-shirts that say "Bite Me" and feminist takes on the Barbie film can save the day. But this is part of another culture where you talk about feminism or you talk about modern women. This is the change of that. But listen, there's a lot of those red pill alpha shows out there, okay? They're all basically saying men will still perceive a woman with a lot of tattoos. It's going to be perceived, probably looked down upon. Not probably, would be looked down upon. Because guys, if they're the red pill alpha type guys, yeah, they're expecting a woman that is probably not very sexually promiscuous. That's not overly, that has some kind of purity to them. Because if a guy wants to go ahead and find a woman to marry, do you want, what comes with a wedding dress, that the wedding dress you can't, that wedding dress is not going to cover the amount of tattoos or sleeves or whatever it is that she might have. For some guys, it might be fine. But I don't know if that's going to be for everyone. Now, in the story here, they say that a woman and man getting married and each keeping their names is the perfect example of equality. Yet, when a woman chooses to keep her own name, it can still be seen as more of a move of defiance. Yeah, what about those that get the hyphenated? There's one story they talk about where there's a YouTube power couple, Faith Kelly and Ethan Payne. Faith is age 23, Ethan age 28. They recently went viral for revealing why they weren't engaged. They both have a child together, but Ethan has refused to propose to Faith because she's made it clear she won't be taking his last name. He says, Faith doesn't want to take my name, and that irks me. And Kelly, Faith, clarified she was happy to take his name, but wanted to keep her own and hyphenate. And the compromise wasn't good enough for Ethan. So in the story, they close out and say that it's depressing now that women are branding themselves with their maiden names just to maintain some sense of their own identity rather than just keeping their own bloody names. Now back to the story here from Insider Africa. So overall, they say these tattoo artists, they say that, well, while millennials at one point insisted on getting mustaches tattooed on their fingers as an interactive gimmick to an era of nautical novelty when anchor tattoos were a hipster of a badge of honor, trends can disappear as quickly as they arrive, leaving many with a permanent reminder of yesterday's big thing. There's some women that also feel like it's different. Another story they bring up was a story from a lady that says that, first of all, she says, I never really loved my body until I started getting tattoos. Now I see it as a work of art. And so, like most women who grew up under the weight of American society's beauty standards, she long struggled to love how her body looked. So she talks about this. She was obsessed with her body and not in a good way, constantly eating less and exercising more in a bid to get thinner and perhaps love herself more. It wasn't until she started getting tattoos she started seeing her body as a work of art. So each of her tattoos, she says, holds a story, a piece of the puzzle of who I am. She has a half sleeve on her left arm paying homage to her family in her home state, a bluebird to remind her of her dad and his love for the birds, which settle and build their families near our house each summer, flowers reminding her of her mom for her grace, beauty, strength amid tough conditions, and she looks at her tattoos daily, and each time I think of the people most important to me. She also has an excerpt from a Dylan Thomas 1951 poem, Do Not Go Gentle Into That Good Night. Makes me think of back to school. Remember that? Remember? Also, a recreation of Michelangelo's creation of Adam. She has a tattoo of an olive branch and a lion that I got with her mom in Israel, a sort of a mother-daughter bonding experience I will always be able to reflect on. So, as I collect all these works of art, I become more and more excited to see them in the mirror and excited to see myself by proxy. These days when I look at myself, this is Jordan Parker writing this, by the way, I see fewer imperfections than I used to. That could be chalked up to growing up and becoming less obsessed with my looks, but I think it can be attributed to how I adore myself with things I cherish. No, you're more concerned about your looks because of what the tattoos look like on you. It's not so much where it's what they look like. They look like the same thing every day, but it's how they look on you. So there's a bit of an issue there that you're saying you're obsessed about your looks. You were just obsessed about your skin. Now you're obsessed about your tattoos on your skin. It's the same thing. Now it's more than ever. And part of it is, if you're not happy with your skin, she decided to do something about it. She wanted to make changes. But this is her way of saying, oh, this is me appreciating what I put on my body as works of art, as a canvas. Okay. And then she brings up the question, how can I love these things so deeply? Renditions of my family, my favorite art pieces, my home, and not love the canvas they're on. But the thing is, she was already unhappy. She was depressed about her looks, depressed about what society's beauty standards are out there. I get it. But this is where, number one, the beauty standards that are out there are ridiculous. I've talked about this. And you know what? It's not an episode that I did out there that really got a whole lot of traction, which is fine. But I'm not here to go ahead and put out clickbait and find episodes every week that everybody's going to love and they're all going to click away and listen to on the YouTube channel or find on my podcast. That's okay. Sometimes I just want to get these stories out there because it's a passion project of mine. I want to make these points here because I think it's important. Does that make sense? I just don't think that every woman out there, not every woman feels like Jordan here. I don't think so. and maybe I don't think I'm completely wrong on this, but I would love to get your take out there. If you're following this on the YouTube channel, by all means, if you catch this episode and you're watching here, of course you're not watching me, but you're listening to it on YouTube, but I call it watching because that's what you're doing on YouTube, essentially. I would really love for you to go to this episode on the YouTube. You can find it from kingofpodcasts.com. It'll be there. Or, just go to the YouTube channel at King of Podcasts and please comment there. I really want to see what your comments are and see if I'm completely delusional, I'm out of touch. I'd like to hear from you. But please do it where I'm trying to come in here fact-finding. I'm actually trying to do this just to be aware. I know that part of the reason why this is going on is because of the beauty standards that are impossible to reach. This is why it's a multi-billion-dollar industry. And so instead, the beauty standards are now being changed to say, well, the tattoos are beautiful. Okay, beauty is in the eye of the beholder. And the tattoos, you might think they're beautiful, but how many people really feel like the way they're positioned as a canvas on your body and putting them on you, how many of them do look aesthetically pleasing? Is it everybody? Maybe not. I mean, if you're not caring about what society says, and you just want to be able to go and say, well, I'm going to just do something to individualize myself, okay. But I don't want this, and I say this before and I'll say it again, I don't want tattoos to be the reason where it's an alternative. It's an option because a woman doesn't love the skin that they have, the skin they were blessed with, the beauty and the youth they had from the get-go, from birth. Because there are plenty of men out there, I'm pretty sure, I'm pretty positive, that I think there are more men that, regardless if a woman has tattoos or not, they're going to find them beautiful. Like, a woman having tattoos on them is not the indication of a guy saying, well, that's a deal breaker if you don't have tattoos. I mean, are there any guys that really feel that way? I'd love to hear from you too. Are there any guys out there that is an absolute deal breaker if a woman does not have a tattoo on her person, or that you encourage her, she needs to get a tattoo, and she says no? Is that going to be enough for you to say, no, I'm not interested. I'm not staying with you anymore. I'm breaking up. We're not even getting anywhere with this. I really want to know that. And I hope someone out there will go ahead and take that opportunity to bring that up, because I think that will be a fascinating conversation. I'd like to go and keep this going at some point, but we'll come back to this another time. I don't make it a regular thing because there's always other things going on in our lives, but there's something to be said about look, things get normalized all the time. I keep my head shaved bald. 30 years ago, it wasn't looked up upon. Like, it's very normal to see that. But I'm just saying that's just hair. And the reason I do is because I started losing my hair very early on. And you know what? I just got tired of trying to create fades or trying to get it cut. And at some point, it just finally just stopped and I just shave it. Done. It's just easy to maintain. And it's not for everybody. That's fine. But the idea of every woman out there should go and get tattoos, I don't think that's for everybody either. I mean, I get the idea of getting a couple. I really do. I can understand where someone would want to do that. I don't understand the big grandiose ones, okay? The ones that take up half your thigh, half your leg, the ones that take up all your arm. You have to get it inlined and then you have to get it colored and all this other stuff. Like, I don't get that part. The large ones on the back, the big ones that take up all your chest. I don't understand those. On your neck, on your eyebrow, on your face. I don't understand those. It doesn't make sense to me. And I know it's not supposed to make sense to me. I'm just, guy doing a podcast here. I get it. I'm not everyone out there. But I think there's enough people out there that conversation we should have. Are women getting the tattoos for the right reasons? Getting as many as they're getting for the right reasons? I hope I get a chance to hear some takes out there. I hope you honestly, please subscribe to the channel. I'm trying to get to 500 subscribers so I can start monetizing the YouTube. And I would really appreciate that. If you can help out with that. It's getting there, but I need a lot more help. So whatever you can do to do that would be great. And if you don't do that, please do feel to follow or subscribe to the show. All major podcast platforms. All starts at kingofpodcasts.com. It all starts right there. I hope you'll consider it. But with that said, can't deny that people that decide to go and get their hands on tattoos there is always that kind of that stigma that will come into place. And if you don't realize it's going to be, you will get that stigma that you might be promiscuous. You might be, aloof. You might be considered easy, but you'll definitely be considered depraved and debaucherous.